And we're live. Welcome back, tech builders. So, you've got your environment set up, but what's next? No more setup, pure code. Let's take that first step from zero to an actual working web app. This is video 2 of our 7-part series. We're building your very first web apps, not just with 1, but 3 backend languages: Python, JavaScript, and PHP. No fluff, just hands-on coding to turn your ideas into reality. It's time to dive in and start building the web together. Let's code. So we're going to start with Python to write a simple app, which we've done before. Check out those videos. So let's have our Explorer available. And first, to do that, we need to go into the terminal. Once we get to the terminal, let's change to that directory. Navigate to the directory. From there, we can check out the modules that have been installed. Flask is already installed, our lightweight framework that we need to use. So if we try installing it again, it will just tell us, hey, the requirement is already satisfied. So far so good, we're good to go. Next thing we need to do then is to just create an app.py file, Python file, and this will be our application. Since we've gotten Flask installed already, from the installed Flask, we can import the Flask with a capital F class and also proceed to create an app instance of Flask. Once that is created, we need to start off with the function that is going to be called each time we try to execute this particular file. So it returns a hello world, but we also want to be able to route this particular function to give its output at a particular URL, and also modularize our application so that if we import it as a module, our application does not get to run. But if it's not imported as a module, then we can go ahead and run in debug mode. Now, once that is set, we can execute or start off this server by typing Python app.py on the terminal. Once that is served up, or once that is executed, it serves up a server, which is a development server, gives us a pin since it's in debug mode. If we click on that link or follow that link or type it out, it opens up our web app in the browser. So that's about it for Python. Again, check out the full course on that. Now on to JavaScript. For JavaScript, again, we're going to start off with the terminal, but let's go ahead and use Ctrl+C to quit or kill the server for Python. Now for Node.js, we need to go ahead and create a folder where our package or our application is going to be held. So create this Node.js folder and navigate into the folder. Once we are within that folder, we need to be able to initialize it using the npm, which we downloaded earlier alongside Node.js. So npm init-y is going to initialize that folder, which just creates a package.json file, as you can see. And from here, we also need to proceed, similar to what we did with Python, to create a JavaScript file. Before we do that JavaScript file, we might need a framework. So we'll use npm once again to install a lightweight framework, which is Express. Now Express goes ahead and installs a bunch of packages to help us with streamlining the process. And we check it out, everything looks good. We don't need any changes to that. We can go ahead and just straight up create an app.js file. This app.js file, again, it's just a JavaScript file, but this time it's going to be running on the server. We create a variable that is going to hold an instance of our package that has been imported. Okay, once that has been created, we can now start an instance of that app. The app is going to actually hold everything that is for our application per se. Just for the sake of it, we might as well just have another constant to hold the value for our port number, and then we can pass that in future. So eventually we set up a route so that each time a user or anyone tries to get to our home directory, which is a /, we have a request or a response that goes to, and this arrow function is going to spit back some information to them or give them some kind of a response. So that response then is going to be whatever we type in here. In this case, we're just going to simply say hello world, and that's it. Simply put. But then we need to have our server listening for what's going to happen. And in order for us to do that, we have our server listening at that port, which we identified on line 3. And while it's listening, we can go ahead and log something on the console to let us know that, hey, everything is currently running or our server is running smoothly. So with JavaScript, that's about it as well. Similar to Python, we're going to need to execute this, and we'll go back to our command line, get out of our application, go back to our command line, and fire off the Node.js application, which is in particular an Express Web App. So once again, back to the command line. All we need to do is node app.js, and we should be able to launch out our server. Ask us if we're okay with that, which we are. And then we can click on the link, which is going to be provided to us, or simply go ahead and type the link. So let's give it a couple seconds for it to load up, and there we go. So type it, should be on port 3000, and on there you can see port 3000 shows us the value for Node.js, while port 5000 shows up that for Python. So again, if we need to refresh it, we're going to have to stop the server. We can use other tools to make this work out for us automatically, but for now, this is just a simple example. So we have to stop and restart the server, and we should be able to see those changes. All right. The same with Python, we can go ahead and make changes to our Python file to make sure that it's unique. It shows us that, hey, this is Python, hello world. The other one is Node.js, hello world. And once we stop and restart our server and refresh our browser, we should be able to see those changes on there. Just like that, we've been able to write a Flask web app as well as a Node.js web app. All right, so next up is PHP. PHP as well, very straightforward. We just go ahead and type in our PHP code, which, as you can see, I did type in one in the index.php file. And for us to use PHP, we're not going to use the web framework in this case. We're going to just use a simple PHP script, because again, PHP was built for the web and we don't need to customize anything, but to streamline the process, we're definitely going to need a script. So this is a basic example of PHP's ability to generate dynamic content. But for all of these, you have to remember, there are more complex scenarios where we can interact with databases, process forms, create dynamic web pages, and so on and so forth. In addition to that, we definitely need to think about virtual environments, using those to isolate our project dependencies, as well as, what database we like to integrate with, SQLite, PostgreSQL, MySQL, and using the appropriate libraries with them as well. Templating engines are quite important for each one of these frameworks, which generate HTML content dynamically. Finally, we definitely want to deploy this in a production environment. So we look at having either deployed in a cloud environment or other options on a local machine. As mentioned, this is just a simplistic view. We will dive into each one of these programming languages to understand their paradigms and how we can actually effect the logic that drives the backend. So again, starting with the basic structure of each code, we've seen already the different types of usage or syntax for each one of them, the basic syntax, I should say. And then we have with the common elements of our code, starting from comments, variables, data types, control flow, which has to do with conditionals, if else, as well as loops. And from there, we can go into functions. So these all tie in with the programming paradigms, which we discussed earlier. If you need to be clear on that, again, check out the video on programming paradigms. It's very straightforward, down to earth, and you'll be able to understand how these are all related with Python, JavaScript, and PHP. So let's dive into some of the code, starting with our syntax for each one of them. So I can go ahead and close this, and I will expand that for each one so we can look at them side by side. Awesome. Now I can collapse that. Now I have Python, which is printing out hello Africa. I have JavaScript, which is printing out, let's make this a little smaller, there you go, which is printing out hello America, and I have PHP, which is printing out hello Asia. That's the basic syntax. Next up, we're going to dive into each one of their structure, starting from the basics all the way to object-oriented programming, and you should be able to learn how to use each one of these codes, programming languages, basically in a few minutes. Awesome.